I'm Dan Drake. This is Front Up, and our guest today is Nancy Thayer, one of Nantucket's wonderful authors. Nancy, you have a new book coming out. Welcome, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
And you have a new book coming out next week.
That's right.
And it's called An Island Christmas.
That's right.
And this is what it looks like. The cover will look like when it's in the bookstores and available to buy online. And tell us about it.
Island Christmas is set on... Look, this way.
Yeah, look at me.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's set on Nantucket. Mm-hmm. It starts off with the stroll. It's about a family who live here year-round, whose daughter is getting married. And they also have another daughter, but they sort of have empty nest syndrome, and they go out on the stroll and they see all the dogs wearing these cute little reindeer ears, and they just want an animal, but they're not ready to commit to a dog, so they get a cat. And the cat plays a very important part in An Island Christmas. And partly the cat is in there because I wrote a book last year, which I brought in because I don't have the other one. A Nantucket Christmas, which I wrote last year, starred a dog named Snicks, who was abandoned on the moors here on the island. And people loved that, but a lot of my Facebook readers emailed me and said, well, why don't you have a cat? You should have a Christmas book starring a cat. So An Island Christmas stars a cat and some people.
It's about a bit of a dysfunctional family, isn't it?
Yes, but I think all families are dysfunctional, really.
That's probably right.
Yeah, and if you had a cat in the mix, then it's really...
But it's not a sequel to A Nantucket Christmas. It's just a new book, but a little smaller, almost a stocking stuffer. Not quite, but almost.
That's absolutely right. It's what they call a gift size, so that it's under $20, and it makes a nice gift for people. It's shorter. It's not a great commitment like some of the big door blocks that we're doorstops that we read. It's pleasant. It's a Christmas book. It's going to have a happy ending. You know that by the cover. And it's something that we can all relate to. Families, Christmas, food, animals.
Sounds great. Your first book came out in 1981, am I correct?
That's right.
Was it about Nantucket?
No, it wasn't. It was set sort of in Helsinki, Finland, where I was living, and in the Midwest, and in all over, because I was moving all over at that time.
But you started out in the Midwest.
I did.
Kansas?
I grew up in Kansas, that's right.
And went to the University of Kansas for...
I went to the University of Missouri at Kansas City.
At Kansas City, sorry. Yeah. That's a big mistake. I beg your apologize for that. And got both a bachelor's and master's degree in English literature, right?
Right.
Yeah, good. Then where did things take you from there?
I got married very young and then got divorced and ended up in Williamstown, Mass. With 2 little children. And a friend said I should come visit her on Nantucket.
When was that about?
1982. And on November 3rd this year, Charlie and I will be married 30 years.
Great.
Because I came over, I visited Dinah. She introduced me to Charlie, who was doing a show much like this. He did a show called Arts View.
I remember that.
For an old station, Channel 3, I think it was. And he interviewed me, and that was it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what was your first book that was about Nantucket?
My first book about Nantucket, actually was Spirit Lost. I wrote it the minute I moved here, and it's now available as an e-reader. It's a ghost novel because I moved here and I was so taken with the atmosphere this time of year in the fall, the stories that people told me about having ghosts in their home. So I wrote a very short book about a ghost who appears on Nantucket. And then I wrote another book after that called Belonging, which was about a woman who moves here from New York City, and the whole sense of how do you fit into this island where there are so many people who've been born here, they've been raised here. How do you belong? When you feel like you belong here, how do you know you belong here? And
Does that premise still hold true today, do you think?
oh, I think so, absolutely. Yes. I think more and more so.
Because the population was a lot smaller back
Yes.
in 1982 or 3 or 4
Yes, it
than it
was.
is today. And well, anyway, so they progressed from there up to the current one, An
That's
Island
right.
Christmas. And in the last couple of years, you've published several, haven't you? I mean, it seems like your output has become even more prolific.
I think I'm really fortunate because, first of all, my children are grown, and at the same time, I have a lot of energy. I have an editor that I adore. I have an agent I adore, Meg Ruley, who grew up on Nantucket, and her sister Joanne works at Nantucket Pharmacy, and her other sister Julie is Dr. Pearl's assistant, and they're just everyone. I feel so close now. I feel like I belong.
Well, that's important.
Yes.
Tell us about your writing. How do you get into it? And do you wait until you finish one book before you start thinking about the next one, or do you sort of have them going through your mind in a series?
I walk a lot on the island, and we live on Orange Street. So I can either walk right down to the water and I can walk to the creeks, or I can walk through the beautiful little lanes like Pine Street and Fair Street. And whenever I look at a house, any house, I just stand there and a book starts. I know if there's a bike in front of a blue door, or if there are bookshelves that I see in the window, and I don't peep. I'm not a peeping Tom. I don't. But there's so much here. There's everything here. This island has everything, and I'm just always full.
Do the ideas come more easily now than they did when you started out?
They do, absolutely. I think it's this island. I have a friend who's an artist, and she moved here the same year I did because of the moisture in the air, and it makes for her.
She'd be very happy today.
I don't know if she would be happy today, but it sort of makes that gauzy, beautiful, impressionistic kind of quality for painting. I think this is a special place.
Is the next book in the works?
Oh, yes.
Can you give us a little preview of that?
I can. It's called The Guest Cottage, and it's about two people who do not know each other, and but they each know somebody from the same general family, and they each rent a house on the island from that person, but it's the same house. So they end up in this big, wonderful house, not knowing each other and having very loose arrangements with their friends, and they have to find a way to get along with each other.
Coexist, at
Yes,
least, if not
yes.
cohabit.
Yeah, well, that
We'll see.
Yeah, that's all there.
That's all there. When do you do your best writing?
In the morning.
In the morning.
I get up at whenever the sun's up and get a cup of coffee and go up to my attic, and we have a beautiful half-moon window, and I can look over I can see the lighthouse, I can see the harbor, and I sort of fill up and sit down, and then I'm gone. I'm writing.
Presumably today you use more modern tools to write than you did when you started out.
That's true. When I first started writing, I had a portable manual typewriter. And that's when I was in college, and then I worked my way up to, I think it was an IBM Selectric electric
That was big
typewriter.
stuff.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
big stuff then.
And I wrote my first 2 novels on that. And I remember I actually cut and pasted paragraphs and words to change things. And I was here on the island when I got my first computer. And boy, do I love computers.
They make it a lot easier.
Yes, they do.
And it goes a lot more quickly. Well, it's quite a career you've made yourself. You've targeted a certain audience. Is that not fair to say?
That's absolutely fair to say.
And how would you describe that audience?
It's probably 90%, 99% female, and that's what I wanted to do because I do have a master's in English literature, and most of the books I read were about war and going to war, and I thought, I want to write about what ordinary women do, because I think what we do, just keeping our families alive and fed and happy and out of jail and loving each other, I think that's the hugest thing in the world. And so that's what I determined to write about, and that's what I've been writing about.
Well, you've certainly caught a lot of people's attention. My wife was saying that one of the guests in an inn she works in a couple days a week said she was here because she wanted to go to all the places she'd read about in your books.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh.
So it does get to people. There's no question about that.
Oh, that's wonderful to know.
Well, Nancy Thayer, author of An Island Christmas, which will be out next week in bookstores and online.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Dan.
And keep them coming.
I will, Dan. Thank you so
Nancy.
much. Oh, that was lovely.